zero money, and other people paid up to, I think the final thing was like $56,000 or $7,000 from other defendants, but not from our client. So that actually helps tremendously to have notes, and you don't need to write War and Peace. You just write notes that help refresh your memory. It is allowed in the state of California under the evidence code for you to testify based upon your custom and practice and a refreshed recollection based upon notes. So when you see that, you get to tell a whole story about what it means when you write what you write in your notes. Little symbols, little things, little abbreviations enable you to tell an entire story on the stand, and it has tremendous credibility, and therefore you don't get to the stand. It ends up in a meeting or a mediation or a settlement meeting or a letter that we write back that says, you know, you have no claim. This is a big issue if you represent sellers, and this is hot, and we're seeing this happen a lot. A realtor who we're defending right now conducted a short sale, represented a seller, got a letter from the lender, and the letter from the lender said, we agree to remove the lien entirely from the property to allow the close of escrow. Raise your hand if you think that is a short sale. Oh, good, excellent. Raise your hand if you think that after the close of escrow, maybe that lender called the next day and said, okay, how are you going to pay the balance of the money? Okay, everybody put your hand up. This is what happens. So what you need from the lender is something that extremely, with complete clarity says that after the close of this escrow, the balance due on this loan shall be zero, or no money shall be owed on this loan, or the loan is deemed paid in full, or the loan is satisfied in full and the seller, the borrower shall owe nothing. You need some black and white, clear language that is unambiguous that says they're out. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're removing the lien, the escrow closes, the lender gets something, and the following day, if it's a recourse loan, they're asking for the balance. This is all a negotiation. The biggest tool that you have in accomplishing a short sale is the fact that the lenders discovered at long last, quietly in the back room, they said, you know, it's not so good to have all this power to foreclose, because when we foreclose, we end up in a jackpot of problems, a variety of problems. We need to stop foreclosing, but we can't let the public know. Okay, well, we know. And so that's the force behind the short sale, and it's working, and lenders are learning better and better how to do it. Do I have another one? Yeah, that's a long story, and raise your hand if you're interested in knowing the answer to this question. Okay, enough people will spend a few moments on it. In California, we have anti-deficiency legislation, meaning that some loans are non-recourse. All other loans are recourse. Recourse means that the lender doesn't just have to limit themselves to foreclosing on the property, they can sue the borrower and get their principal, their interest, their attorney's fees, their late fees, and so forth. And then they get a judgment, and the judgment can be enforced against anything that the borrower owns. So property, cash in the bank, cars, stocks, interests in companies, future interests in money they inherit that's not protected in trusts, so forth. It's a very powerful thing, and the judgment lasts for 10 years and can be renewed for 10 more, and then 10 more after that, and it can just keep going for the rest of the debtor's life. So that's a recourse loan, that's the consequence of it. Non-recourse loans fit in exactly three categories. There's no fourth category. Three categories. Category one, with a few exceptions, seller carryback. When a seller carries back a note on property, the seller is limited under most circumstances to foreclosing on the property. They cannot sue on the note. They can only take the property back. Now, there are a bunch of exceptions. Just one might be, for example, if the seller subordinates to a construction loan, or if the seller renegotiates the interest rate in consideration for a waiver of this. There are a lot of exceptions, but the starting place is that way number one for a loan to be non-recourse is seller carryback. Number two, it is when a lender has completed a non-judicial foreclosure, meaning they filed a notice of default, non-judicial, meaning they didn't file a lawsuit for judicial foreclosure, non-judicial, and standard foreclosure. They recorded a notice of default, they then published a trustee's sale notice, They then conducted the sale and foreclosed on the property. That lender is finished. That lender cannot then go after anything else. They're finished. That lender. Now, if that lender was the first and the second has been foreclosed out, that's not finished. That second is either recourse or non-recourse. If it's recourse, the second can sue. The third, the fourth, the fifth, they can all sue. So that's the second way that you have non-recourse loans. It would be a completed non-judicial foreclosure. The third way has to fit in all three categories. So the third way has to be in all three of these categories. It must be a loan which was purchase money. It needs to be on 4 units or less residential. And it has to be owner-occupied. So, if someone did a refinance, it no longer fits in that category because it's no longer purchase money. Purchase money means it's what you bought the property with. But if you bought it and you own it and you refinance it, that loan that you refinanced it with is not to purchase the property because you already own the property. The purpose of that loan is to pay off the old loan.
Steve.
So that's now full recourse. John.
Quick question. On that type of scenario, if you refinance only to lower debt, the principal balance stays the same, you use the same lender, that is then considered a non-recourse?
That is all full recourse. Full recourse. Any refinance paid off the original loan, and the new loan is full recourse. Full recourse. We also, even in a situation where it's been a purchase money loan and the same lender didn't pay off the loan, but they renegotiated the terms in a loan modification to lower the interest rate or change the payments, that's going to be recourse. So any change to the original loan is going to turn it into recourse, paying it off, renegotiating it, loan modification. So all the people who've done refinances, many of them didn't know that they were changing themselves from invulnerable to vulnerable, but that's what they did.
In an all cash, where say you purchase the house all cash and flip into a loan the next day, is that's still considered a refinance? They own it?
So all cash, they bought it, they closed escrow, the next day they borrow money against it, that's full recourse because that's not purchase money. That's correct. Anybody else want to ask the same
What if they're
question?
a short sale? The borrower
Say that again?
needs all three, it's purchase money, all done. This is their first home.
So the buyer buys a short sale, they're going to own it.
No. The person who bought the property, it's their home, they're going into a short sale, the seller.
The seller, okay.
Does the short sale trigger the recourse? If it's, no.
No, the question is if you're a seller and you fit in all three categories, purchase money, primary residence, 4 units or less residential, and you go to do a short sale, does that change the non-recourse nature of that loan? No, it doesn't. That's they would have no recourse against you to begin with.
Oh.
If you bought it owner-occupied and no longer owner-occupied it, would that eliminate you from...
If you bought it owner-occupied, but now you've moved out and you're renting it out to someone, does it still have invulnerability? And the answer to that is, it depends on the facts. It's a question of fact for the trier of fact, and what the trier of fact will decide, it isn't up to the borrower.